Hello, my name is Steve Rowe. Welcome to our webinar. Today I'd like to introduce Alfresco Workdesk and show how it can help streamline your document-centric business processes. For those of you who don't know Alfresco, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our background. Alfresco is all about helping you, our customer, do and share great work. You might be wondering what this guy is doing there. Well, NASA is one of our key customers, and NASA use Alfresco Enterprise to help collaborate with their external agencies and their subcontractors in order to put this man where he is. But we're here to help you do and share your great work. Since we were founded in 2005, Alfresco has been very successful. We've now signed up over 3,000 customers as Alfresco Enterprise subscribers in over 180 countries worldwide. To give you an idea of the numbers, we support customers with over 100 million documents or content items and over 50,000 users. And those customers come from a very wide range of backgrounds: government, finance. You can see here these are well-known organizations across any industry. So let's focus on the mission at hand today. How does Alfresco help streamline your business-critical document processes? So a lot of processes in companies originate from the paper world, where paper documents were shuffled around and kept in filing cabinets. I think we can all agree that those days are numbered and that increasingly electronic versions of processes are a requirement. It's important to reduce the cost of paper, not just the obvious costs of shipping around those boxes and where do you store it, but also the hidden cost of losing documents, of not having access to the most recent version of a document, of being physically in a different location. Electronic processes certainly address those issues. So the kind of thing we're talking about might be a bank doing a loan origination, it might be an insurance claim, any business will be handling customer invoices and legal contracts, government records, employee forms, those kind of familiar processes in the electronic age. I will mention rich media publishing. Throughout the presentation today, we'll be talking about documents, but Alfresco supports rich media types like video and audio. So for example, if you have a marketing workflow, we can support that equally well. So just take a step back and consider, what is your content challenge? Are you looking to solve a process-centric problem, or are you looking to solve a collaboration-centric problem? So I mentioned it briefly, but the way we characterize processes is a repeatable exercise that's repeated many times, where the users involved in that workflow each have well-defined, consistent roles. They might have different roles, but they're well-defined by the admin and by the business. And they're very clear steps as documents and case files progress through resolving an issue. So if it's a process-centric problem, we're looking to achieve greater process efficiency, and through analysis of the different phases of the process, help to adapt processes and make them even more efficient over time. That leads to cost savings, and also better consistency leads to improved customer satisfaction and measurable customer satisfaction. And finally, we do that in a compliant environment so that all of those steps, we know who did what when, we can demonstrate to the regulator, to the compliance department, that it's been done in accordance with the rules and regulations. And in contrast, that's very different to collaboration-centric. Collaboration-centric is more around ad hoc, knowledge worker use cases, where we're really driving organizational productivity and getting everybody to quickly set up a shared site, shared documents, for example, to run a new project to get a product to market quickly. So we see those two use cases working hand in hand in our customers, and both leveraging the Alfresco Enterprise repository, where all the content and document items are stored. So looking at that on these two columns here, on the left we have Alfresco Workdesk. It's a new user interface for Alfresco. It's a suite of products that help to achieve those savings around the process-centric use cases. And on the right, we have Alfresco One, which is a combination of Alfresco Share, which is our web-based collaboration UI, Alfresco Mobile, Alfresco Cloud, to have a collaboration-centric solution for those more knowledge worker-oriented needs. So we have two great ways to leverage Alfresco and to drive value in your business. So Alfresco Workdesk, we're going to be focusing on those process-centric problems you might have today. A couple of definitions here. So these are taken from AIM, which is the industry body. So when we think of case management, we think a case is a project or a transaction, some kind of service which is opened and closed over a period of time. So you're really creating a time-bound sequence of steps to achieve resolution of a problem, or to fulfill a claim, or to handle a specific customer request, develop a specific proposal. And then that gets closed out and archived. And often case management will involve multiple people with different roles, could be inside and outside the organization. And it's usually there are multiple documents and messages that are built up over the course of that case that need to be visible and shared to all those participants as it tracks through the workflow. And according to AIM, don't just take it from us, the motivations and benefits, you can read them here. I think for me, the key one is, where today we might have users who are having to go to multiple different systems and aggregate information from those different systems to address, the case and get it resolved. That having a dedicated case management system helps us to provide all of that information in a consolidated way, in a single point for those users, and help them just see the information that they need for their role to quickly and efficiently get their job done. So Alfresco Workdesk is built on three main capabilities. The first capability is business role management. So who you are and what is your business role, as seen by the developers and the business people who set up the system, is going to determine what you see. It determines what information you see, what application view you have, and what actions are available to you as you progress through the list of activities in your user interface. The second capability is dynamic folders and views. So those of you who know content management know that in the repository we store the content files, and alongside we store all the descriptive data that describes about those files. So that could be, for example, a customer claim reference number. Now that data, that metadata that describes the files, can be used to query that to bring back just those files that you want to see according to the query. So you can easily set up Alfresco Workdesk to simply bring back all of the files that are related to that customer claim reference number. And because that's a dynamic query, adding new documents, if they have that same reference number, we'll add that document into that dynamic folder, into that view. And you can see how a document could then live in multiple views, and how multiple processes might be sharing information in different states of their execution. The third capability of Alfresco Workdesk is configuration rather than coding, rather than programming. So Workdesk is designed to be configured in terms of the specific roles and the specific business needs that you have. No coding, no programming required means that you can save time and you can save money, and you can quickly get your Workdesk solution up and running, configured the way you need it for your business. Let's see that in action. So in this graphical representation, the Alfresco content repository is on the left with all the documents inside. Next to that, we have the Alfresco activity business process management engine. And as mentioned before, you can access this content through the standard Alfresco One web and mobile views. On the right here, we have a set of users. Each of these users has different roles and they have different requirement for information. And in between is Alfresco Workdesk. So Alfresco Workdesk is mapping the technical view over to the role-based business view to give the right information at the right time to these users. So at the top here in the first example, you may have an HR person, somebody who's creating company policies, company HR documents, and they're storing them in an electronic file module specifically for HR. Down below, this user in green is an employee of the company. He wants to be able to access all those company HR policies and procedures too. So that the role allows the same role can be used by the HR specialist and by all employees to access those documents. Now let's layer on a second role here. This is the claims agent. So now we have a new module, the case file module for claims in Alfresco Workdesk. It comes as a new tab on the screen, and John will be showing you how this looks in a while. So the claims agent in their day job has an inbox of multiple claims that they're processing through, and they see the claims role, the claims views associated with that, whereas the HR agent doesn't need to see that, so they don't have that role. Let's add in another role. In this case, it's an additional case file module for customers. And at the bottom here, we have our customer service rep. Now he sees all of the customer information, but that information is also made available to the claims agent because he may need to refer to more general information about the customer in order to do his job. So in this case, the claims agent has 3 roles. And then adding in a customer role, and we can see how this is all orchestrated with the BPM engine. Another great benefit of Alfresco Workdesk is it can be delivered through multiple different user means. So the base level of access is Alfresco Workdesk through a web browser. That means it's very easy to provision that to your users, no client install. It's an advanced web browser experience with powerful drag and drop and inline editing, and it has usability support too. Another option is to let your users stay in their familiar Microsoft Office application environment. In this case, we provide access to the content and the metadata without leaving those Microsoft Office applications. Have your users stay in Word or stay in Excel and simply open and save files. The metadata dialogues are added in by us so they can perform actions directly there from Microsoft Office and those other apps. And then the third delivery option is to have those same roles and that same capabilities provided through your iPad and your iPhone. And that's 2 additional native applications that we've developed for Apple iOS devices. So who's using Alfresco Workdesk? Well, out of those 3,000 customers I mentioned, we have many who are using Alfresco Workdesk today. Some examples here, a top 5 global internet company. We have several banks, an insurance company listed, and also a US power plant organization that uses Alfresco Workdesk to manage document workflow for large projects. So you can see there are many different use cases for this solution. So why Alfresco? Well, we think Forrester Consulting, a very well-respected analyst, has it right. They look at Alfresco, they look at our open approach. We add in configuration over coding, and we can deliver more quickly and at less cost than the alternatives out there. And we welcome the chance to come in and demonstrate and prove that to you. So without further ado, I'd now like to turn over to my colleague John Yers and welcome him to take you through that Alfresco Workdesk demonstration. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A box in the WebEx user interface, and we'll address those at the end.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for taking the time to listen to me today. I'm going to be demonstrating the Alfresco Workdesk interface. It's a browser-based interface. And in my particular case, I'm going to be using Internet Explorer. Though, of course, as with everything in Alfresco, all the popular and main browsers are supported. Now, one of the very powerful features of Alfresco Workdesk is its business role management. So different users and groups will have different responsibilities and jobs. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use some use cases which I believe are fairly generic across many organizations, but I think the key takeaway from this is the fact that irrespective of the functions and roles of your users, you'll be able to configure and customize the Alfresco Workdesk environment to suit the exact business needs of those individual users. So, depending on the business role that a user has, the user gets a user interface in their very own respective flavor. So, for example, a customer service user will get a UI in the context of customer management. The HR gets a UI in the context of human resources, and it goes on and on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a fictional user. His name's Carl, and he works as a customer service representative. So the first thing I'll do is I will log in. And upon logging in, the user is given exactly the view of the application that they require to perform their day-to-day tasks. On the left-hand side, there are different search templates, and these are available in the business context of customer services. So, for example, find customer contracts, find customer files, etc., etc. If you're working in a different department, you would have different search templates that have been configured specifically for your business role. The bar in the top also provides customer management related functional areas. For example, there's an area for customer files, an inbox, and contact persons, etc. That again is customized depending upon the role that you have and the requirements that you have. So let's log in as a different user so we can actually see that in action. So I'm going to log out, and this time I'm going to log in as Peter. And Peter works in the company post office. So think of him as a correspondence manager, let's say. So let's put in his credentials, click login, and immediately you will identify the fact that Peter has a different UI because it has been configured to match the requirements of his particular job and his particular role. So now I'm going to log back in as Carl, that's the user that we were looking at just a few moments ago. And just to reiterate, as soon as he logs in, his default landing page is the search page. And there are extensive search capabilities within Alfresco Workdesk, and these allow specific and focused searches for each specific information type, like documents and e-files, and I'll cover what e-files are later. And these are based on both metadata and full text searching. These search templates are pre-configured by the department head or a business administrator, and they're assigned to the respective business roles. So since I'm now logged in as Carl Customer, I will see the search template as defined for a customer services advisor job. So down the left-hand side, we've got a number of search templates, and then on the right-hand side, that renders the form. So let's do a search, and I'm going to look for some customer documents. So I'll select customer documents. And the criteria I'm going to provide is just the assignee. So I'll select the drop-down box, and all of the assignees are already pre-configured for me. They're dynamically generated by the fact that we have all the assignees in the system. In this case, I'm going to select all of the customer documents that have been assigned to myself. And then I'll hit the search button. What we see here is the search result showing the matching documents. Now the columns across the top show the metadata information for each document. And the available columns are part of the configuration, so the department or business administrator defines the columns which shall be shown in the list. So I'm going to go back to the search form, and this time I'm going to do a full text search. I'm going to search for everything where the name is like Alfresco. Now we have a search result set that returns all the customer documents containing the provided phrase. At this point, it might be useful if the business user could actually save their search, because he or she might, because of the process-centric nature of the job that they're doing, have to perform searches on a regular basis, and those searches may well contain very similar fields, very similar filter criteria. So as we've just done a search on Alfresco, I'm going to save the search and just call it Alfresco, and then click Save. Now, if I go back to Find Customer Documents, I can see, as well as the form that I have, along the bottom here, I now also can see that saved searches are available. And there is my saved search. Selecting it automatically runs it, or rather automatically populates the fields. So next, we don't want to search for a particular document, but we want to search for a customer file. And this customer file will contain several documents related to a specific customer. So this time I'm going to use a different search template. I'll click on the Find Customer Files, and I could filter this, but I want to return all of the customers that I have available in the system. I'm going to select one of these, in this case Alfresco Business Solutions, and click on the Edit Object button. Now this opens the selected customer file in their respective customer file area. And this moves us on to the notion of e-files that I mentioned earlier. An e-file can be compared to a traditional paper file in a file cabinet, which contains documents which belong together respectively, and they may all be related to a customer. And all these documents are organized in a predefined folder structure. And this folder structure is applied to each instance of a customer file. That in essence is what an e-file is. So if we look at the top left, what we see is the info panel, and that shows the most important information about the customer at a glance. Again, it's configurable, and the information that you can see is defined by the business administrator. In this case, we can see the company logo, customer ID, the address, customer status, etc., etc. You'll also notice we have a contact person there, Sandra Kerner, and that contact person can be pulled in from within the Alfresco repository, or perhaps a third-party system like some CRM system. If we click on the contact person, it will take us to the properties of that particular contact. Again, all of that information may be pulled in from a CRM system. Taking us back to the customer e-file, on the bottom left, we can see the virtual or dynamic folder structure that's been applied to this customer. So the folder structure looks very much like a typical physical folder structure that you may be familiar with from Windows Explorer or something similar. But this is a predefined folder structure that's applied to each instance of a customer file that's been created. So if we open another type of e-file, like an employee dossier, the folder structure may well be different because that's the way it's been configured. So the folder structure is reference to a specific type of e-file. And the content within those folder structures are put there not physically, but logically. So it's based on the metadata and the properties of the content will drive where they will appear in that e-file structure. So here, if I click on contracts, for example, I can see a number of contracts, but they may well not actually be in a contracts folder within the repository itself. They're organized in this way because that's what the user, the business user, needs in order to be able to do their job. I'm going to go and expand the contracts folder, and in there we can see that these can be filtered into subfolders. So if I click on new contracts, we will see a number of contracts that are marked as new. And these contracts are now ready for signature. So we can change the processing status of these and have them move through the system. So I'm going to select one of the contracts, and let's take this bottom one here, and click on the edit properties for that contract. So to process this document, I'm going to change the resubmission date. We'll make it any date in the future. So we'll select a date in August. Hopefully the weather will still be nice then. And additionally, we'll change the processing status. And it's now moving from new to in progress. Note that the progress bar has actually changed as well. And we'll change the assignee and make Carl the assignee as well. We'll save and close that. Now notice the document has disappeared from the new contracts. And if we click on pending signatures, we'll see that it's appeared in there. And it's also generated a PDF version of the document ready for the actual signature itself that needs to be applied to that. So in another business view, documents can also be shown according to other available metadata. For example, processing status, priority, assignee, or whatever information is available. In our example, the contract appears in the corresponding inbox. So since we're awaiting the signed contract from the customer within a defined time, we set the contract to resubmission, and it appears as a reminder in the inbox, and it's highlighted if the resubmission date equals today's date. So to illustrate that, if I go to my inbox, enter my inbox, expand that, and in there I've got a folder for resubmission. We can see the files listed in there. So it's the same document appearing in the results list, but it's in a different business context. So this business view shows documents according to assignee value across all existing customer files. So to get an overview of all contract status across all customers, another business view is available. And this view shows all the contracts in the respective status, but only their PDF versions. So if I click on contract status and click on pending signatures, we can see just the PDF documents are the ones that are awaiting the actual signatures to be applied to them. So let's go back to the customer file. Alfresco Workdesk provides different result list views, and these give you different capabilities. For example, we have an adaptable list, and the adaptable list is the one that's currently highlighted. This allows us to do things like stretch and move the width of the columns. Also allows us to sort on different columns. So for example, currently it's sorted by name. We could, for example, sort by customer ID if that was of more use to the business user. It is also possible to modify metadata values from within this view. We can modify, for example, the assignee of a document just by clicking on the metadata value and selecting it from the list if we wanted to. I'm going to leave this one as car customer for the time being. A context menu is also available, and you can access that just by right-clicking on the item. And then again, only those items that have been configured for this particular business user will be available within that context menu. Here we can see things like edit properties, copy, add to favorites, etc., etc. There are also a number of keyboard shortcuts available, and if the user hits F2, they're given a list of those just to give them a bit of a reminder. So, for example, if I wanted to select all of these items, I could select Control A, and all of my items will be highlighted. So the next thing we're going to look at is to create a new customer file. So if a customer, or rather if a company gets a new customer, a new instance of a customer file has to be created. And this can happen either automatically, independent of another system, for example, a CRM system, or it can be created manually, as it will be in this scenario. So we're going to go into the customer file area and click on create new customer file. We'll select a country. We're in the United Kingdom, so we'll use that one. And then we're given a form in which we can fill in all the other fields that we need for this customer file. You'll notice that one of the fields is contact person, and there's a clipboard icon here. So in order to choose a contact person, I'm actually going to go into the contact person e-plugin at the top here and select one of the users. So in this case, I'm going to select our esteemed colleague John Newton, and there's a button here that allows us to copy that user object into the clipboard. And by doing so, that adds it to our clipboard. If we now go back to our customer file, we notice we still have John Newton in our clipboard as highlighted above here in the yellow, and the contact person box is now enabled. If we click on that, it pastes John Newton's details as the contact for this customer file. And now we can fill in the rest of the details. So the company name could be Acme Limited. Again, all of these fields are entirely configurable. And there we go. save that. And now we can see a new customer e-file has been created for our new customer. Obviously, we didn't add a customer logo, but if we had, that would appear there. All of the details appear in this info panel on the top left, including the contact person that we added, and the default configured virtual folder structure has also been predefined for us. So Alfresco Workdesk focuses on complex and business-critical workflows in a business such as an insurance company, where daily thousands of insurance claims have to be processed in the same way. And there are other examples, such as loan applications, employee applications, RFP processes, contract approvals, etc., etc. And we can see that a lot of these processes require the use of a workflow. So what we're going to do next is we're going to actually put some content, some correspondence into a workflow process. And in order to do this, I'm going to log out. I'm going to log in as Peter, who we saw earlier. And I'm going to go to his post office area. And within this post office area, Peter can see all of the correspondence that's come in that he needs to deal with. Now he's going to select a document that he's going to work with. In this case, we're going to use the claim.pdf. And what we'll do is we're going to right-click on it to open the context menu and launch a workflow. A dialog opens and we get to choose the workflow that we want to use. And we're going to select the claim handling workflow, as this is a claim that we're going to use. And we need to give it a description, so I'm going to put webinar claim and launch that workflow. That workflow process has now started. Now, I know that this workflow process, what it does, it sends that content item, that correspondence, to the customer services team. So I'm going to log out and log back in as Cole, who's our customer services representative. And this time I'm going to go into the case management area. And there we have some cases that have been assigned to us, including the one that I promoted into the workflow just a few moments ago. Here we are, claim.pdf. I'm going to click on the edit button, and that will open up the claim process dialog. Note that in each step of the workflow, a specific form is provided. And this gives detailed information on what has to be done before the item can be forwarded for the next stage of the process. I may well need to read the document, so I can just click on the icon here, and it will open up the document for me to view in my browser. Once I've done that analysis of the document, I can close it, and it takes me back to the dialog. And then this allows me to do the next stage of the process. Now, very often, it's not possible to make a solid decision based on just the viewing of the one document. We may well need to see the document in the context of the customer file. And we can do that by clicking on the Show Reference Customer File. And that will open up the e-file for a particular customer. And then that allows us to see all of the other documents related to this particular customer. Again, this is one of the key strengths of the Alfresco Workdesk product, this ability to group content together based on the business needs of the particular user. So from here, for example, I may need to see any contracts associated with this customer to see if they have an impact on this claim. And I can do so just by clicking on the contracts folder and clicking on the appropriate subfolder. Once I'm satisfied that I've seen all of the documents and I'm in a position where I can make a decision, I can go back to the case management area. You may notice that Alfresco Workdesk is intelligent enough to remember where you are. In effect, it saves the context of what you're doing. So even though you're jumping from one area to another within the Workdesk environment, it always remembers what it was that you were doing to save you having to re-input any additional data. So now that we're back here, we've decided that perhaps we need some more technical information. So I'm going to provide some information here. And then make a decision. And in this case, I'm going to actually forward it to the technical department for their technical input, and then save that. Now, of course, a technical user, a member of the technical department, needs to log in and check this for themselves. So I'm going to log out and log in as a technical user. Again, we have a very highly configured view that's configured specifically for the requirements, the business requirements of a technical user. Once in the case management area, we can see here's the claim.pdf that we've been looking at. And again, by clicking on there, we can go into Edit Object. The technical user can see the comments left by Carl Customer and can add additional comments. Again, they can also go and view the reference customer files and have all of the same capabilities. I'm going to add a comment here. And complete that step. And now this workflow is designed to send that back to the customer services unit. And if I go back into my case management area as Carl, here's the claim back again. And I can see that the technical user is satisfied, so I'm going to say that I am satisfied. And this time, I will mark the problem as solved. So I hope this has given you a good general overview of the Alfresco Workdesk interface and given you an insight into how flexible and configurable it is to make it work to your specific business requirements and for specific business users. So each user within your organization or each user type can have an interface that's configured to do the work and present the information that as they need it in order to very quickly process lots of information in an efficient manner. Thank you for listening, and at this point I'll pass you back to Steve.
So to summarize, Alfresco Workdesk streamlines document-centric business processes, driving process efficiency and cost savings. More consistent approach helps to improve customer and employee satisfaction. And process compliance helps you to achieve your audit and compliance requirements, meet those rules and regulations. So Alfresco Workdesk processes your documents in the user roles that you need, lets them access case files and have an audit trail. By emphasizing configuration over coding, it's a faster time to value and simpler, more cost-effective ongoing support for your applications. It's delivered the way you want it, in a browser, on the desktop, or on mobile devices. And with a common Alfresco infrastructure, covering both the process-centric and collaboration-centric use cases, you can store your information one time and use it in the most appropriate way for your user base. So what next? I would strongly encourage you to test Alfresco Workdesk. Test it right now. You can download and install Alfresco Workdesk in just a few minutes and try it for yourself. Get the Office mobile app from the Apple App Store. It's pre-wired to a demo server and ready to test. So once again, thank you very much for your time today. If you'd like to hear more, speak to how we can solve your business problem, then here's my contact information. Feel free to email me or call me anytime. And we're keen to hear what is your business critical content challenge and help you address it. Thank you very much.